2015 Lamborghini Huracan LP610 for nothing on earth can prepare you for the eyeball-melting performance of Lamborghini's entry-level supercar, the Huracan. The angular design is severe yet elegant. The stealth fighter-like cockpit is as luxurious as it is intense. Nestled behind the cockpit is a 5.2-liter V10 with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. No manual transmission is offered with rear-wheel drive. It makes 571 HP and with all-wheel drive it produces 602. A convertible version Spyder is also available. You may know the Nürburgring as the 7.8-mile asphalt track where the world's automakers take their top-speed vacations. The traffic-free circular autobahn in the heel of Italy's boot. The Porsche-owned test track is banked such that you can take your hands off any car's steering wheel at 149 miles per hour in the outer lane. It's one of the few places on the planet where Lamborghini's new 10-cylinder wedge, the Huracan, could prove to us how aerodynamically sound it is approaching its claimed top speed of 202 miles per hour. We say could because the ring is off limits today. Instead, we're rifling through Nardo's other treasure, the 3.9-mile squiggle of asphalt known only as the handling track. Wide enough to field a NASCAR race and technical enough for a Grand Prix, it merits the more pretentious name, so we'll give it one. Circuito Internazionale Nardo, as we'll call it, is 16 corners of sweepers, hairpins, and flyers that make it a perfect place to inspect Lamborghini's new runt and its 602 HP, anything but runty V10. Halfway around the track, you crest a small rise that reveals a heart-stopping panorama stretching to the horizon. The land falls all the way to the Ionian Sea, creating the illusion that a wrong move could send the Huracan sliding nearly 2 miles into the drink. A car with this much drama and this much speed doesn't let your pulse rest for long. The Huracan corners flat, grips doggedly, and blitzes out of bends. But it keeps your heart rate from fully redlining by being just as precise and predictable as it is explosive. There's more understeer in this four-wheel drive Huracan than elsewhere in the mid-engine stratum, but it's hardly the frightening push of some past Lambos. Trail the brakes or lift in a corner and the aluminum and carbon fiber space frame willingly changes direction. The brakes bite progressively, with some of the best modulation we've experienced from carbon ceramic discs. Pirelli P0 rubber sinks claws into the pavement to produce CORNERING grip of 1.01 Gs and a 70-0 mph stopping distance of just 144 feet. The 7-speed dual-clutch automatic, Lamborghini's first such transmission, executes ruthless, premeditated gear changes. You don't miss turbochargers when you have 10 CY-liters INDRS inflating a torque curve to such a healthy level, either. According to our tests, the baby Lambo is quicker than not just the Ferrari 458 Italia but also its big brother, Lambo's Aventador. Lamborghinis once had a reputation for being fast in a straight line and clunky in corners. This car is fast everywhere, though our test gear confirmed that this Huracan is freakishly quick in the straight line. We ripped to 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds and burst through the quarter mile in 10.4 seconds at 135 miles per hour. Forget the comparable Ferraris and McLarens, they're eating the Huracan's dust. In fact, the little Lambo even knocks off the Porsche 911 Turbo S, the computerized acceleration killbot and another bright satellite in the VW universe. This thing is big and quick. But the real drama lies closer to home as the Huracan, base price of $241,945, beats the $404,195 Lamborghini Aventador in the critical acceleration measures by a half-second. You still have to buy the expensive one, however, if you want doors that open up rather than out. Seems worth it? No. Our Huracan demands a break after 55 miles of Nardo's handling track. The water temperature needle nips at the red, and the digital instrument cluster begs us to have mercy on the transmission. When a cool-down lap yields no relief, we pit. The 5.2-liter Decca cord behind the seats snorts steam through its air intakes and the slatted engine cover, enveloping the rear half of the car in a sweet-smelling ethylene glycol fog. The popular storyline holds that the nudist bulls mark a monumental shift for Lamborghini and its relationship with Audi, that the Germans have gone down to where the wild things are and tamed one and made it their own. The blown coolant hose is only the first indication that this Lamborghini is still very much Italian. Another Huracan color matched and identically equipped for just such a contingency appears for us just as our allotted track time expires. We head south, following the sapphire sea where it laps postcard beaches. The wild, natural beauty is stark contrast to ugly clusters of seemingly abandoned, half-finished homes. The construction is largely unpermitted, says Lambo press boss Raffaello Poirot, with structures built in phases as the owners accrue the necessary funds. Scrappy, rules be damned solecism is emblematic of the mental anarchy and individuality of Italians, he says. Was he talking about houses or Lamborghinis? Even as Sontaggett explores refinement and subtlety with Audi's cash, the Huracan is still all angles and ostentation, the 10-cylinder thunderhead crackling across the landscape with snack bang upshifts, extravagant ergonomics, and superlegal capabilities. It's still loud, fast, and violent. It's still anarchy. Italian individualism explains how Ferrari can reside just 25 miles away and develop radically different answers to the same questions. The Huracan doesn't have the finesse of a 458 volume, but then the Ferrari doesn't have the Lamborghini's outsized personality. While Audi's four rings are cast into the suspension members, the Lamborghini has far less compliance than an R8. As with the Aventador, the Huracan's suspension travel feels as if it's measured in a scant few millimeters. Holding the weight to just 34.23 pounds means our test car was light on optional equipment, no magnet or geological dampers to smooth the swells in the road. Limestone brick roads such as those in the quaint medieval downtown of Gallipoli are hard on the car and harder on the driver. The fixed back, carbon shell sport seat L8 availability option in the US forces you into an upright position that suggests the seat is perched higher than it is. The navigation and audio equipment is Audi by spec, but the display is rendered at half the usual size and plopped in the lower right corner of the digital instrument cluster, making it difficult to read. The biggest nod to sensibility is the new dual-clutch transmission. You already know it as the S-tronic gearbox in the Audi R8, but here it's called Lamborghini Doppia Frizione. When the Aventador arrived in 2012, Lamborghini touted its antiquated single-clutch transmission as the world's most emotional gear shift, the rosy euphemism for gaping torque holes, abrupt shifts, and erratic low-speed behavior. The dual-clutch cures all that, juggling 7 closely spaced ratios with flawless logic. As you toggle the steering wheel-mounted animate, or mode selector, from Strata to Sport, gear changes quicken and intensify until, in Corsa mode, full throttle upshifts cause your head to bounce off the seat back. The engine's timbre gets angrier and the steering grows heavy. Launch control ratchets the V10 to 4200 rpm before ruthlessly dropping the clutch. The Huracan will upshift automatically at redline, but not before running into the limiter for a fraction of a second. Using the paddles to call for earlier shifts knocks a tenth, sometimes 2 tenths, off the figures. That's a reassuring feeling, the notion that Lamborghini might favor a brutal shift over a faster one. It's confirmation that the company hasn't lost sight of what sets it apart, a touch of rawness. Spectacular as they are, the Ferrari 458 volume and McLaren 650S don't need to be copied. The fewer concessions to drivability found in the Huracan's katana-sharp handling, scorching acceleration, and since we're obliged to take Lamborghini's word for it, 202 mph top speed only make the car that much more alive.